The Boys Mentorship Programme in Nevis was designed to fulfill the Sustainable Development Goal number 5, gender equality. It was launched last year on the 21st of November, and last week an advisory board was established. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with one such member, Mr. Jamir Claxton. Mr. Claxton is the Director of the Department of Sports in the Nevis Island Administration, and he will speak with us all about how this undertaking will mold our boys. Welcome to Good Morning SKN, Mr. Claxton.
This morning, I want to take this opportunity to also commend you guys on this wonderful platform and show that you have. I mean, it gives us here, think it's a Nevis, an opportunity to not only share information but have pertinent discussions on a number of topics. So kudos to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Claxton. We're indeed humbled by that. All right, getting on to the questions that we have for you about this very exciting initiative. In the first instance, we want to know how you became part of the advisory board.
Okay, so well, I was selected by the Honorable Hazel Brandy William. For me, it's a privilege, an honor to be afforded the opportunity to sit on this board. Of course, it shows the confidence of the Honorable Minister in me. Of course, we have worked together previously when she was the Minister with responsibility for sports, so she knows very much what I'm capable of and the value that I can bring to this particular program. Also, it's another opportunity for me to be involved in something that will impact our boys in a positive way. So for me, I embrace this initiative wholeheartedly.
It's a really good initiative indeed, sir.
Yes. And congrats, Jamir. This program focuses on gender equality. From your observation, are girls more likely to receive mentorship than boys?
Well, in terms of mentorship, I will say that a lot of time when we speak about gender equality, a lot of the programs that we would have had in the past focus on the advancement of females. It often appears that females are the only one who are impacted by inequality per se, if you want to put it that way. And so this program shows that there's an opportunity, there is sometimes a neglect of our boys, if you want to put it that way. And so the girls tend to have programs that ensure that they progress smoothly through life while the boys do not have. So this is an opportunity to really push the true notion of gender equality.
It's a very fascinating concept indeed, because that you are absolutely right, Jamir, in speaking to that. Now, moving on to what that mentorship entails specifically, as you are part of the advisory board, what sense can you give us as to what the boys would be exposed to under the program?
Can you repeat that?
What can you tell us specifically that would form part of mentorship for the boys?
Okay, there are a lot of programs that we intend to initiate in terms of the mentorship program for the boys. But one of the earlier discussions we have had, a lot of time here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we identify problems and then we try to fix them without having a true understanding of what the problem is. In terms of my role on the board, specifically as it relates to sports, one of the concerns has been that there has been a drop in the level of participation of young boys when they transition from primary school to high school. The dominant narrative is that it is because of lack of structures within the high school or within the community. But when you examine it closely, there are a number of other factors that the drop in level could be attributed to. And so initially, our role will be to do thorough research to identify all these problems. Our hope is to encapsulate or capture all the factors and variables that cause these problems for these boys. From there now, we can have solution-based discussions. And based on these solutions, then is where we can focus on developing the necessary programs to impact our boys in a positive way.
Good information indeed. Great initiative again, Jamir.
Okay. So you serve as the sports and youth representative on the board. How will you use your expertise to mold our boys?
Well, the good thing about it, I myself would have been the beneficiary of having a mentor when I was growing up, in Malcolm Ramsey. He would have worked, he was a mentor in an unofficial capacity, if you want to put it that way. He was just someone in our village who identified young men who he saw potential with, and he used what little knowledge he had to guide us in the right direction. And so I would have learned from that. And so I would have first-hand experience being a mentee. And in turn, I would have also mentored a number of boys in my community. And I've seen them progress and being very successful in various fields. So I have first-hand experience in terms of what is necessary. Where my expertise comes in is that we need a coordinated approach, and thus we need to get other stakeholders involved. And so I can share that particular information, share my experience with them, share my knowledge of being involved with working with young boys so that the approach is coordinated. One of our problems is that everything is ad hoc. And so the Boys Mentorship Programme, through its advisory board, will be able to coordinate efforts so we impact more individuals rather than just a few here and a few there. Yeah. So as I mentioned, I would have mentored a number of young boys from my village, and I used sport as a vehicle for them to get to their desired destination. All of them didn't remain in sports. We've seen some individuals going on to be teachers, coaches, working in construction, working in banks, etc. But what would have happened is that what they would have gained from being involved in sports, they would have been able to transfer that to the everyday life. And I'm talking about like the discipline, time management, a need for being committed to achieving a goal, stuff like, say, just being a team player. Sports allow you to develop certain personality and character traits that you can transfer to your everyday life.
All right, so Jamir, my question to you is this. Obviously, we're speaking to gender equality as a goal that we need to fulfill through this initiative. How can we measure that success? As you're part of the advisory committee, what metrics are we looking at, if any, to say that we have successfully met this objective?
Well, of course, with any initiative, you have to outline your objectives and goals, and also your performance indicators. In this case, it will come down to speaking in terms of just stats, the number of boys who were passed through the program, how they would have basically coped, and how they would have basically gotten positive results, and what we see of them after they would have passed through the program in terms of stats. So if we had, just to simplify it, if we had 100 boys pass into the program, if 90% of them were successful or would have gone on to do great things, then statistically we'd have achieved a 90% rate. But long term and overall is that the impact they will have on society, the impact they will have on their communities in future. I think that is the greatest performance indicator, the impact they will have on society and their communities and their peers in the long term. I think that is the greatest performance indicator.
Indeed, I tend to agree.
Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Oh, definitely does. Both short and long term, yes, it does. It does.
So, Mr. Claxton, have you played any sports? And are you still involved in any?
Yeah, so I played football is my primary sport, my preferred sport. I played football since I knew myself. I'm from Bath Village in Nevis, which is a football village. Okay. So basically, the majority of our young men come up, and even females, we play football. So I played football for my primary school, high school, for my community club. I played in the SKN First Division for Bath. When I went off to university, when I returned home, I became more of an administrator than a player. So I began to focus on administration within the club.
Okay.
So the question now that I have for you is, given the fact that Bath is like the sports hub or the football hub, and given the fact that there is this marriage between sports and mentorship, is that a strategic alignment in your book? Is that one of the ways that you sought to ensure that you could mentor boys where they are based on their interests?
Yes, and you spoke about interest just now. One of the ways of impacting youth, and in this particular instance, boys, is to garner what their interest is and utilize that interest for their benefit. So in my case, in Bath Village, most of the boys that I spoke about earlier who've gone on to be teachers, coaches, etc. I got them through football, basically, in my area. Got them through football. They were very interested in football. So football was the vehicle that I used to guide them towards the destination of being successful young men. And so there is indeed a marriage between sports and mentorship.
So other than the sports, do you teach them how to present themselves, how to dress, anything else?
Yes. And that's one of the things about when you speak about the Bath United Football Club. And focusing on the Bath United Football Club, because that's where I made my impact in terms of mentorship. It's not just about playing the sport. Okay. It's about holistic development of the individual. Now, of course, we won't be able to turn all of them into the perfect gentlemen, but a lot of the work they did, they were able to teach them how to speak to the media. We had public speaking, which is often an issue with our young sportsmen and women. So we were able to work on that. We were able to do simple things like teaching them how to use knife and fork and things like that. So it's a holistic approach. Sports is just the vehicle to attract them, and then once you have them, then you could initiate other activities that help to develop them as individuals.